Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Nerdy Jock Media presents Jujutsu Kaisen Season 1 Watch Along Podcast. I'm here, of course, with Kevin Ketchum, aka the Nerdy Jock.
What's up, guys?
Who, it's really, really hard for him to hold in his hostility.
Oh, yeah. And this is DK, the DB guru, who also, when he plays baseball, only goes for home runs.
That's it. Yeah. I swing. I mean, I'm like Joaquin Phoenix in Signs. It's like I swing even if it's a ball or whatever, it's on the outside.
At least you're swinging for the fences, unlike JJK in this episode.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Let's get right into it.
Yeah, that was tough.
I can sense there's some frustration going on.
There's a little bit of frustration here. We're in episode 21, right?
Yes, episode 21, which is Jujutsu Koisen. Is the name. I will say at the start that in the last couple of episodes, I was very uncharitable towards this episode. And I was very, very annoyed with it. But we always watch things 2 or 3 times before we do these reviews. And second watch, I actually liked it a little bit more.
Yeah, no, second watch for me too, it did kind of pep up a little bit. But there are some issues we'll get to later on in the pod. But, we do want to mention before we even get really deep in that we need to plug our socials, right, Dan?
Oh, yeah. Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook.
Check it all out. Subscribe, follow us.
Subscribe. Yeah. I mean, if you're listening on any podcast site, Spotify, Apple, whatever, thank you so much. As always, the premiere experience of this podcast is on YouTube, so we encourage everybody to watch there.
So check it out there.
And if you are here on YouTube, thank you.
Thank you. So let's get into this episode 21 here. So you just mentioned a second ago that on second watch, it was better than the first watch.
The baseball stuff was fun. Right. I mean, this is a trope in anime across the board where there's a sort of palate cleansing refresh episode with some levity where everybody just kind of plays baseball and the only stakes of the episode are baseball. And that's fun. My problems with it, which I think you're going to mirror, are more just where this fits into the larger story that has been being built up so far.
Or not even built up, the roller coaster that is this story.
Yeah.
Because usually you would feel a big building to a nice crescendo, a great third act to this season, and you get a lot of ups and downs, but they're small notes. They're not big bangs.
No, not at all. And I don't know why Gojo would suggest a baseball match instead of individual battles. I mean, I don't know if it was he or Megumi that said earlier that Yuji by himself now could defeat the entire Kyoto team basically by himself. So why wouldn't he want a Tokyo victory in that way? Maybe he just wanted something nice because people died.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you're right. In a lot of ways, they did just have an unexpected, special great curse, Hanami, wreaking havoc in their Tokyo team sister school matchup. But that shouldn't deter us from the viewers from watching, an interesting matchup the next day. Maybe that would be more motivation from a plot perspective to say, hey, we should definitely do battles because evidently the enemies are upon us and they have plans, so we need to prepare ourselves to be ready for them when the next attack happens.
Right. And Toto kind of said as much. I mean, he is objectively the best character.
Right.
He was like, okay, we didn't know anybody that died, so it's not our business to butt into that, thing. Like, only people who know people that die should mourn them. And, 2 and 3, I wrote them down somewhere, but it was basically like, I think the third one was if at a school event things don't go your way, it's something you're going to regret for the rest of your life. And that was why he wanted to continue the exchange event. And this was when everybody thought for sure, because history dictated as such, that it was going to continue to be a battle event, just one-on-one battles.
Right. Like they're going to have to cancel it and just do something different or do the traditional battles they did before. But instead they do some baseball.
They do some baseball, which was fun. I don't have a problem with it. My problem that I mentioned before is that the show doesn't ever feel like it's really truly building up to anything.
Right. I mean, every time you do feel like it's building somewhere, boom, it goes back down the hill. It gets right up the top. You're like, oh, what's going to happen next? Boom, they got the great. I mean, let me. I don't want to sound like a complete hater because the fight with Hanami, those 3 episodes were my favorite of the season. Hands down, superb. That should have been the last 3 episodes, probably, in my opinion.
Yeah.
This wind down wasn't really necessary for this season, in my opinion, if that's how they were going to plot it out. But
yeah, and I don't know how it worked out where it's like, well, we have a 24 episode order, so we just have to, or maybe too, there was a pressure. I could see producers maybe talking about like, well, we're setting up all this mystery for Megumi early on, and we need to pay that off in some way.
Right.
It can't just end with him like bunting in baseball.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, and we'll get to the Megumi stuff next week or later on in the week when we post our second one, because doesn't really hit on that as much.
Yeah.
But should we go into a little more plot details for the episode now that we've kind of like hashed it out, or any other overbearing thoughts that like are frustrating?
I guess we can just get to it as we go. So it starts out with this character that we've only seen once before, Haruta.
Yeah.
It was like a sword with a hand that Juzo made for him. And he basically says, I didn't do anything, which is true. He didn't do anything. So I don't know why we're spending any time with him here. And then Hanami shows up, and Hanami is just destroyed from fighting Todo and Yuji.
Yeah.
Maybe even getting hit by Gojo's attack a little bit.
Yeah, half of Hanami's body's gone. You know, that's what that was from. It's from the Gojo. I think it's definitely from the beam. From the infinite purple.
Hollow purple.
Hollow purple that he made. Like, you could see that just like destroyed his body. And Hanami's in bad shape. And Haruta, who we don't even know. I honestly thought Haruta was Mahito at first, to be honest. I was like, is this Mahito just like wearing like makeup or something? Like, I don't know why, but like the characters are very similar. Cadence, size, how they talk is very similar. So I was like, me and my girlfriend were just both like, is this Mahito? But it's another weird introduction to another character we don't know anything about.
Right. And then he's gonna kill Hanami, put Hanami out of her misery. And then Mahito shows up and stops it and kind of just reveals, and the whole point of this scene is just for Mahito to say, like, yep, I got all 6 fingers from the school and was it 4 cursed wombs, cursed paintings or whatever. So.
And we know that Haruta is a human, by the way. Haruta's a curse user, but it's human.
Oh, yes.
Yes, that's important to know, because everyone else there are, curses themselves.
Much like Juzo. Yeah.
Exactly, much like Juzo. So we know that. And then we get a little flashback into the cursed objects that actually throw back to episode 4, which is kind of weird, because like this whole 4-episode arc, which we're only going to go episode 18 today, or 21 today, sorry, episode 21. These last 4 pretty much are kind of like mirror copies of the...
Juvenile Detention Center
Juvenile Detention Cursed Womb arc.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of echoes. But we're flashing back now to Geto and Mahito talking about their plan.
Right.
About what they're going to do, how they're going to infiltrate, what the deal is. And basically what they're saying, Hanami is like, well, can I kill everybody except for Sukuna's vessel? And somehow Geto is like, I don't think that's a good idea, because I think that Sukuna might like one of the students, and that might be like a bomb that sets Sukuna off. And it's like, that's a really good guess. Yeah. Geto has some psychic powers. He predicted that Yuji was still alive when Yuji died in the battle with Megumi, and when Sukuna took over. He predicted that even when, Ieri, who was operating on Yuji, didn't know that.
I mean, maybe he does have some kind of cursed ability where he has foresight and can see the future. And maybe that's what turned him bad. It seems like either that or he gets instant SMS text messages from Jujutsu High. It's like, oh. Yeah,
he's got a mole or something like that. But we're setting up something that the fans have been teasing us about, which is this Shibuya incident, because he said October 31st in Shibuya.
Halloween.
Some shit's gonna go down, and sounds like maybe Gojo might die at this event. Which, I mean, if those are the stakes, it's like, please, can we get to that event? So, I mean, can we please build to something that's like, I mean, because we are kind of like in this thing, which we'll get to in our next episode, which we'll release next week or later this week, where it is kind of feeling like adventure of the week, sort of, which I don't always mind. I mean, Cowboy Bebop was an entire show built on that. It was like every episode was a new little adventure that
wanted, dead or alive.
Yeah, it was like a new bounty, a new this, a new that. But those characters were so solid that you were along for the ride on this. This being shown in storytelling and all this, front-loaded mystery and exposition in every single episode. It's like Talk a little bit about the exposition. Like you had a great point off pod about the stuff that's important versus the stuff that isn't important.
Right. So which one were we talking about specifically? We were talking about the baseball. Or that's
you were talking about how just overall the world building. It seems like the exposition, they tell you too much about things that aren't important and not enough about things that are.
Right. Like they'll okay. So this is, I mean, spoiler alert. Let me just use a baseball example because this is a baseball episode, which you're going to get in later detail later in this episode here, probably in the next 5 minutes, to be honest. But let's just go ahead and jump to there right now. Okay, so we have watched the next 4. So we are noobs. We are JJK noobs. Don't spoil the season 2 for us.
We've finished season 1.
We finished season 1. But we record 4 episodes at a time, and we are launching them all each separately. So I do know what happens at the end of season 1 right now.
Right.
And basically, the whole build-up before this, the Hanami goes into explicit detail, by the way, about what happened previously between the fight and the Tokyo events, Kyoto Tokyo event, for no reason, because it just happened. We don't need to backtrack. We don't even need to do a little refresher, refiller. But one example of that is that Hanami goes into a deep flashback explaining why the cursed spirits were doing what they're doing, what they're trying to get, why they were doing it. And it's like, you don't need any of that exposition, really, honestly. Spend more time on, the reasons why you'd want it. Instead, they say, oh, here's how we did it. It's like, here's our master plan. Here's our Marauders map, Harry Potter shout out. And we're just going to break it all down and tell you why we did or how we did it, but there's no why. And it's like, I was like, give me a kernel of why you did something, because how doesn't really matter anymore because it's already in the past.
Right.
And so we do a lot of flashbacks like that. Now, to bring it back to this episode with the baseball, which we'll get into later detail later, is that the whole point of the baseball scene, it seems to me at this point, haven't seen season 2, but basically I think it was just to show that Megumi does a sacrifice bunt in the middle of the match instead of trying to go for a home run.
Right.
And that's an explanation for, spoiler alert, for Megumi learning to unleash his full potential and try to make a domain,
To try to have some growth. Yeah.
So the fact that the whole second half of this episode was really for one slight turn of Gojo's face looking at Megumi like, interesting choice, was the whole purpose of, 15 minutes of an episode.
Right. Yeah, because the rest of it, like, if you're going to do a baseball episode, I love that. Like, I love the fun.
Right.
I love the levity. But most of this episode was just exposition again.
Right.
Where it was like, Tengen is the immortal sorcerer who controls the location of the storehouse. And it turns out all the towers at the school are fake and stuff like that. And all this stuff.
They change positions.
But then we go to this powwow between the faculty of both Jujutsu Highs. And they're like, well, the reason the Hanami could break in was because Hanami is a plant, and actually Tengen's ability is just to hide. It's not to actually defend. So a plant could absolutely break through the barrier and find it. But I'm still unclear where the storehouse was, how they were able to locate it with Hanami, how Mahito was able to locate it when he wasn't even with Hanami.
Right.
It's just, it's so confusing.
Okay, here's a quick point I want to make here. I'm a big My Hero Academia fan. I'm watching the current season right now.
Yeah.
And this episode, or the last 3 episodes, when the students battled Hanami, this would have been the perfect time, right, to show the bad guys trying to infiltrate the Tokyo campus at JJ High and get the cursed wombs that they're trying to get from Tengen. That would have been a whole interesting sequence you could have layered over the 3 episodes. Is the teachers, the staff, Gojo and them having to, or maybe Gojo gets pulled to the veil, and then the bad guys go and attack and try to find where Tengen is hiding the cursed wombs.
Right. Show don't tell.
Right. Show don't tell.
It would have been great. Yeah.
And so to bring it back to My Hero Academia, you'll notice all the students, when they're fighting the villains, they're also fighting with the heroes, right, who are already graduated high school, but also the professional heroes. So you'll see them fighting different bad guys at different levels at the same time. And that's a good change of pace. It'll bring you from one part of the episode to another in a good way, instead of having to do flashbacks every other episode to try to explain some minor plot details.
Yeah, because the world building of what Tengen does is so convoluted and weird that it's like, I don't, it's like, okay, well, it can just happen off screen and then it's easy. And then we'll just explain what happened later, but we won't actually explain how it happened.
But DK, where is the storytelling? That's where it would have been, right?
Yes,
that's where
exactly.
the story is at.
And that's also too, like, when you are writing a story, those are the fights that you want to have. You want to be in a corner and be like, oh man, either this is too convoluted or I have to tell the story that makes this make perfect sense, and the audience is going to be like, oh crap, yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, I mean, everything happened off screen, and then everything is kind of explained by first the curses, then the staff, and then that's it. And then that's it. And it's like we never know exactly how Mahito did what he did before we get to this, what's the word I'm looking for? The obligatory pizza party scene afterwards, where Megumi makes a speech about how he's going to surpass Yuji because Yuji surpassed him. Right. It's like, he's like, hey, I'm going to get stronger than you now. You've inspired me to get stronger and stuff, which leads to a funny sequence with Toto. I mean, where Toto's like, just what I'd expect from the friends of my brother. And he's chasing him around, just going like, oh, we were best friends in middle school and stuff like that. And Yuji's like, that never happened.
Right, exactly. Just give me a Toto Sorcerer Hunters show, spinoff.
Right.
Just Toto doing his thing, a lone bounty hunter, but for evil's cursed spirits.
I do like that Yuji treats Toto like a love affair that he regrets.
Yeah.
He's like, look, I wasn't thinking clearly back then, as he's running away from him.
Yeah, and as Toto is mentioning middle school. Like he's like, I didn't know you back in middle school. What are you talking about?
So we don't need to talk about all this exposition of, let's just get straight to the baseball. So first thing in baseball we see is useless Miwa, as she calls herself again.
Yeah, don't put yourself down. I love Miwa. It frustrates me when they call her useless, because she's one of my favorites from Kyoto, and she's like, oh, useless Miwa. But I mean, it's the thumbnail is on the X on that one.
Look, guys, it can literally be this simple.
Yeah.
I'm poor. I need to become a jujutsu sorcerer and win this event so I have money for my family. It's like that's her. That's her. That's all she said. And now she's like, I'm useless Miwa, I'm useless Miwa. It's like you feel the stakes of what she has lost when she actually says that. I know. It seems like in the last 3 episodes we recorded that we're like huge Miwa fans. It's like, yeah, because she's a cute character, but she's also really well written and simply written.
Simple.
Yeah.
It's like it's a strong strong desire that the character doesn't have, that the character wants.
Right.
And she's got to struggle to get it.
Right. So we start with the baseball, but then we cut back to more stuff that happened where it was like, okay, should we continue the event? Should we continue the event? And then Toto makes the great speech where he says, like, 1, only people with a connection to the dead can mourn them. So why it's not our business to butt in. He says the fact that the place got messed up and that people did die shows that we're all weak and that we need to become stronger. Right. And 3, if a student's failure lasts their entire life. So of course we should continue. And I don't know if it's Momo that says it. I think it's Momo that says it's like, wow, actually Toto senpai is like pretty reliable. And Maya's just like, whatever, like reliably stupid.
Yeah.
But he convinces them that they should continue, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they play a lot of baseball. They do. Yuji goes for a home run. Megumi goes for a bunt. Mekamaru is the pitcher, mechanical pitcher, which is pretty funny for a second.
Well, we don't even know if he really is, or if they just got a pitching machine.
And just put like some dots on it.
Yeah, that seems to be the mystery of it. But there were some fun moments in this. Yeah. There are little like things written about each character. I didn't write them all down, but I wrote some of them down.
And we'll put these on the back on the green screen too.
Right. So for Yuji, he tried a certain kind of ramen that made him poop a lot the next day.
Oh, is it the lychee something with an L? Yeah.
Something, yeah. For Nobara, she applied for a credit card, but her odds as a high schooler getting it probably not gonna happen.
So random, but funny.
Right. Maya used to hate mangoes, but she got over it recently.
Yeah, she's slowly liking mangoes.
That's one of my favorites. Yeah. I'm like, okay, because I don't really care about Mai, but I like the specificity of that. It's so dumb. Megumi, he prefers breast meat with chicken nanban, but thigh meat with oyakudon.
Right.
So
there we go.
All right. The very best one, Panda, his goal is to punch a zebra someday.
Yeah, I saw that one. I was like, that made me laugh. So there were some good moments of levity in this episode.
That took me back a little bit to when you and I met on
Right.
Water for Elephants, where I did have a dumb goal, or one day I wanted to pet a zebra.
Zebras are vicious creatures, man. Panda ain't wrong.
Yeah, I wanted to pet a zebra, and the animal wrangler was kind enough to let me do it, because we had another roustabout with us, this guy Muhammad, that was like a zebra whisperer. Like when he would just walk by and the zebras would just come to him and stuff like that, and they were so calm. So I think the animal wrangler was like, well, I'm not gonna like piss them off by like shooing this guy away.
But contrary to zebra, they're how they act. Zebras and donkeys are actually pretty vicious. Like you don't want to put your hand anywhere near their mouth. Like they will bite you. They're not like horses. They're a little bit different, and they're like, don't touch the zebras.
Right.
So I'm surprised you got to touch the zebras. I didn't pet them.
I touched its back.
Wow.
I did not touch its head. I just wanted to see how much different it felt than a horse. Turns out, very different.
Oh, wow. Very different.
Much more bristly. Anyways, Maki can't tolerate protein powder.
Yep.
She probably gets diarrhea from it.
I'm the same way, insider baseball.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Gassy.
Not my thing.
Toto's is my favorite. So he won the middle school baseball nationals with his best friend Yuji.
But Yuji denies it.
Yeah, exactly.
That was great.
Yeah, that was great. Inumaki prefers bread for breakfast with ham and cheese and some Tabasco. And there's a funny little moment where, because Yuji's the catcher, and Toto's a little bit pissed off, where he's like, come on, like, I want you to be the pitcher because you're my rival, my brother. Right. Like, why couldn't you have done it? And he gets in this conversation with Yuji, gets distracted. So Maki throws a fastball right into his face, and suddenly the schools are united in their hatred for Toto.
That's the best moment of the baseball, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Besides Yuji's home run, which is kind of cool in the end, and it was when Toto does I shouldn't have interrupted you.
No.
They get united, and Toto gets it was a intentional foul, right to the face. So like you could see a slow motion Toto.
And the Japanese voice acting here is so funny. Everybody just in this deadpan tone, like, nice peach, nice peach, nice peach.
Yeah. Nice. So everyone's like, good pitch. And it's funny because Yuji, the whole episode has been like, stay away from me, you sicko, you weird guy.
Right.
He's like, I don't know you. We're not friends. And as soon as he got hit, Yuji's like great heart, comes in. He picks up Toto like he's like, oh my god, my best friend. Yeah, cradling like he's dying. And I'm like, okay, so his natural instincts are to be just a great best friend.
He's just like, oh my god, Toto, everybody hates you.
And then they're like, yeah, we do, and that was kind of funny. Good moment there.
And then Yuji gets his home run. Yeah. I guess Tokyo wins the exchange event.
Didn't really explain that at all.
The exchange event was pointless. I'm just gonna say it. It was pointless. It was to set up the Hanami fight, and that's it.
Yeah.
And possibly, like you said, Megumi's bunt was to set up a reason for him to have growth, because he hasn't had any. So
I think the final tally on that score, DK, was Tokyo 3 to Kyoto 0.
I mean,
Kyoto didn't
wouldn't
win
it be
event.
2-0?
Like was it 2? But I think wasn't the baseball like, because they had like a round.
Was it the score?
Yeah.
Oh, because maybe Nobara scored a run when Megumi did the sacrifice bunt. So maybe the score of the baseball was 3-0.
I wasn't talking about baseball. I was talking about overall event.
Was that the final score for the overall event, or was it for baseball?
Great question. Let us know in the notes, guys.
Let us know, guys.
In the comment section, let us know.
That's the episode. We have another JJ Stroll, which is similar to the cat and dog one we had before, which is, are you a bread or a rice person? And what I love about these, there's a song that plays through these that really reminds me of Ranma 1/2, like this kind of goofy song that used to play in Ranma 1/2. And every single time they ask Panda any question, he becomes violently angry and then starts crying. It's like he's a crazy character. But yeah, anyway, so that's episode 21, Jujutsu Koisen. Join us later this week or next week as we dive into episode 22, which is called The Origin of Blind Obedience,
Part 1.
See you there.
Peace.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah. See you later. All right.
Nice
episode.